Hello, everyone. It is my great honor to be here with Judy Kane, who does amazing work in mindset and helping you to find where your limitations are and really change that wiring in your brain to just a new normal. So I cannot wait to hear more about this. I've heard you speak before. I have seen you in different groups, and your work is just amazing. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I would love for you to start by telling us how you got into this kind of a business.
I saw it work. That's basically what got me interested. I didn't have much exposure to alternative types of processes for making changes in your life until I met my second husband. And he had lots of friends who did lots of things. So it was an interesting journey to kind of see, different ways that people would use to help people with different situations. But in 2009, he had some ache or pain somewhere. And one of his friends said, "You want me to help with that?" And he said, "Sure." And I got to watch. And what I watched was the process that I eventually learned. But in about 5 minutes, the ache or pain was totally gone, which got my attention because that was fast. It was clear. He really had something that hurt, and then it really stopped hurting and it didn't come back. So, and the other thing that got my attention was this was a process where I didn't need to sense energy or interpret messages. It's a pretty straightforward thing that I could learn. Right?
I feel you on that one. Yeah. I have my husband feels energy. My cousin does Reiki, and I'm just like, I don't feel it.
Yeah. So I decided to learn it, and that was because it's such an amazing process where you can change physical things, but you can change, stuff that you want to be different in your life as well. And so, yeah, I was
so quickly, because you talk about taking away lying in one session.
Oh yeah, usually you can change any one belief or something like that in less than 5 minutes. It's a very fast. Not that every situation is caused by just one belief. Most things are a little bit more complex than that. However, phobias, I've never had a phobia client take the full hour. Those are maybe intense, but they are pretty simple sourced. So it's not many beliefs usually that are contributing to a phobia.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you have like a certification in this, it looked like.
They don't offer certifications, but you get certificates that you've attended workshops, and I've taken them all.
There was some kind of label by your name, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that.
What is that? What is it?
What did I put? I put it in the description. Where is my description?
Mindset change specialist. Those are just words to help describe, because I'm not really a coach. I don't do behavior or strategy or accountability. I work frequently as a resource for coaches to help their clients get unstuck in packages and programs and stuff like that. But so I know that's not a certification. I just put mindset change specialist. Just seemed like it was more descriptive than any of the other words I'd seen.
That's very descriptive. Yes. And it's just remarkable to me how much comes back when we start out to build a business and we think, okay, I need the right strategies, I need the right tactics, I need the right language. And so much is about our own minds. And most of what's holding us back is in our minds. And it's just wild to me that it has such a big impact.
Isn't it though? And most of those subconscious beliefs are there by the time you're 7.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what kind of terrible beliefs am I filling their heads with by mistake?
Well, yeah. And so often it is by mistake, or sometimes it's like a one-off situation. I've seen people that had one occurrence of something that was profoundly impactful that, has installed, acute panic of speaking in class. You can have one situation where the class made fun of you. Some people it's fine, and other people it's like it installs that, real panic when you think you need to speak up in front of people. It's so some of it is ongoing in the family, and either intentional because you're teaching values, or unintentional because of messaging that you don't even realize how that's being translated by a child. But other times it can be that one thing that sticks in a subconscious, but it's 95% of your behavior, right? It's your default system. It's all the perceptions, which means it's your reality, basically. Yeah, it's crazy.
How do you root out and find what those things that need changing are? Is it just talking?
Well, people come, you mean like when I'm working with somebody, or just people out there? Well, for people out there, because that's probably more valuable than what I would do in a session, is look for patterns of things that don't go well in your life, repeating relationships that aren't supportive, or you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You don't even know why, right? Or you're working really hard to get something to come true for you, and you're doing all the right things and it's not happening. You might be getting in your own way, or it just for some reason doesn't ever work out. That's usually where you have subconscious beliefs where you can tell they're working against you anyway, right? The goal is to have the subconscious beliefs support your conscious goals, and then it all just kind of flows along. So when I'm talking with people, if they come in to work with me, we talk about what they want, right? They know what they don't want. Sometimes they don't understand real well what they do want. They make their decisions to avoid certain situations as opposed to identifying the thing they really want to be true.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So that's the first thing we do. And some people get there faster than others, right? Because we're not taught to dream about what you want much. It's like you got to plan the stuff and make sure that this doesn't happen. And, that's kind of how a lot of us make our way through life. So, first they have to figure out what they want. And then we make up affirmation style statements that are what they would like to be true. And we use muscle testing to see what the subconscious believes. So for people who don't know muscle testing, it's something that some nutritionists use to figure out what supplements the body needs. Some chiropractors use it to figure out where to manipulate the body. In PSYCH-K, which is the process I use, we use it to figure out what's in the subconscious. So with muscle testing, if you were in the room with me and if I asked you to hold your arm out to the side, your brain would send a signal and your arm would go up and it would not be a big deal, right? And then if I asked you, think of something you like, and if I press gently on your wrist, your arm would still stay up. That wouldn't be, but if I ask you to think of something you disliked, there's a wobble in the signal. There's a dip. And so that's how we figure out what's in the subconscious. So you can figure out if there's something that stresses it out. Like if you always have, like with my phobia people, if they think of the snake, there's a dip, right? It's like you can tell it. But it's also true if you say something that your subconscious doesn't believe, there's a wobble to it. So that's, and for yes, no answers. So it's the no that has the wobble to it. So that's how we can figure out exactly what's in the subconscious. So
I try to tell myself that I believe something and I'm like, do I really believe it? I have no idea.
Exactly. Right. And there's a difference between the conscious belief and the subconscious belief. So you can know very clearly that you believe these things on a conscious level, that you do these things for your clients, or that money is a good thing to have, or that you love yourself, or, whatever the stuff, or the snake is okay to be in the, within a mile of you, or, whatever it is. But your subconscious might have a totally different opinion about that. And that's going to make it really hard to do the thing that, that you're trying to do. So we find it, once we find something that you want it to believe that it doesn't, then that's where the PSYCH-K process comes in. And that's the actual change, which usually really takes less than 5 minutes.
That's what really jumped out at me when I first met you, was this idea that it's a permanent change that's so fast. Because when I try to do mindset work and I'm speaking affirmations, it feels like I can get to a place where I'm really good for a while, and then I'll slide back into my old thought patterns.
Yeah, because that's your default system, your subconscious. I've got an opinion, and I have no idea how to prove it, but I think, because I know some people that affirmations work for, if just doing, and then I know many other people that they don't, or they might for a little bit and then they fall away again. And I think it has to do with how well you can picture and experience being in the reality of that affirmation statement. I had a client that came in one time, and this was when I met people in person, and I was muscle testing them in person. I do everybody virtually now, and I do the muscle testing for them in a session. So we don't have to do this, but she was having a difficult time figuring out whether it was a weak response or a strong response, right? And she was going, well, I know I believe this. She says, I've been saying this affirmation. It was decades. Every day she'd said this thing in the morning. And so she says, well, I know I believe this, so let's test that out. And so we did. And her subconscious did not believe this thing she'd been saying for years. And she, that was sad for her, because she put a lot of effort and intention into it. So that was the first thing we changed, because obviously it was important to her. So we wanted to make sure that her subconscious got that one.
Yeah, definitely. Clearly a priority.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that probably people like to keep working with you. Once they experience it, once they change one thing, then we could probably all think of way more things that we would love to change.
Well, it's funny how that works. I've been able to change my own beliefs since I took the first workshop in 2011, right? It was early in 2011. So 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten to the bottom of my list yet. I mean, and I can do this real time, right? There are probably very few days in those 12 years that I haven't done some sort of a balance for something I have discovered with myself. So sometimes people, if I work with coaches and they send a client over, they've pinpointed the thing that's the issue with them being successful in that program, right? So it's usually only one session, because it's very narrow definition of what's needed, and they'll go back and be able to make better progress in those coaching packages. When I see people, individuals that come, they might have one thing they come for, and it may be solved in one session. It might need more than one session, but PSYCH-K is not designed to be a long-term relationship with people for the same topic. However, like you said, there's always stuff. So I have a subscription where some people just come once a month and bring in their Judy list, and we take care of whatever popped up in the last month. That seems to work well for some people. Or I'll have some people, they'll come for 1 or 2 sessions, and then, 8 months later, they'll come for something different. And so, it's interesting to see the urgency that some people have around it, and, just different approaches. I also have a VIP thing where if somebody really wants to get a big thing out of the way, we just do an intensive, 2 half days, and and do all the things around the topic so that they can, because it costs. If some of these beliefs are costing you emotionally or financially or in a relationship, it's there's a cost to not getting these things to be the way you want them to be.
Absolutely. That is so true. How can you tell if something is going to be an issue that's big and needs that intensive? I mean, you talked about phobias are pretty quick, but other than that, how do I know if my issue is something that can be taken care of quickly or not?
Yeah, people always say, well, this is the thing. How many sessions do I need? And it's like, I have no idea until we talk. The intensive one is kind of designed for professionals that know that they've had a lot of stress around achieving certain goals, or they know that they really want to work on a skill set or an outcome. They just know it's got a lot of meat to it, and so that's kind of to help people get to that next level really, in a fast manner. But for most people who are looking at, I've got this thing and it keeps happening, I always recommend have one session, see if it even is something that resonates with you, or maybe you don't like me. I haven't had that to my knowledge, but I mean, different people get along with different people differently. So I always recommend have one and see what the results are, see what's left, then see how much we think it's gonna need to get to the place where you want it to be.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you have this offer for coaches as well, because so many coaches, their programs are of course focused on the tactics, and then the mindset comes up, and to have a resource like you that they can say, okay, you're here because of mindset, let's get that fixed, and then come back and keep working on these strategies. That's genius. I love that idea.
Thank you. Yeah. I got that from a client who was a coach. She came for one session and she said, I'm putting you in my package. It was like, that's clever. I like that idea. So I'm in several coaches' packages, and I've got others that refer out as needed.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm starting up a new program to support coaches, because a lot of times I have noticed that some coaches don't even understand that subconscious beliefs might be the issue, right? They think the client either isn't trying hard enough, or they think they themselves haven't been able to explain it well enough to inspire the client to do the thing, whatever it is. So it's kind of a support and informational membership group for coaches that's once a month with, specific topics where they can come in, learn a little bit about how these things can show up in their clients' lives.
Yeah, so they can recognize it.
Yeah. And so kind of a half Q&A, half I'll have a little short thing that they can watch ahead of time to get some background on it. But the rest of it kind of a mastermind, so that the coaches can compare notes, see what's worked for them. So half and half of that, just as, I guess, a little support group for coaches to see how they can help their clients best.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And we've been talking a lot about the beliefs and the mindset, but when you first mentioned it, you talked about a physical pain and how it helped with that. That reminds me of, I had someone on the podcast a while back named Shiraz, who spoke about how he had a very debilitating illness, and the root of it turned out to be like a avoidance, like he had a lot of pressure on him, and it was a way that his body found to like, oh, I don't have to do those things because I'm too sick to do it. And it was like entirely subconscious. Is that a similar sort of scenario where physical pain can come from?
That's one aspect of it. So I'm never surprised at this, but I'm always amazed that the mind-body connection is as obvious, really, as it can be. I have seen so many instances where somebody has a physical symptom of a that is caused by belief. And if you change the belief, if you can find the belief that's causing the symptom, then the symptom will go away, right? And the symptom is based on something. Your body's trying to give you a message that you need to change something. And in my experience, it's going to keep giving you messages and make them louder and louder until you change the thing that it wants you to change. So just, treating a symptom is not going to take care of the issue. It'll just come back again, or come back differently, or come back louder. And so, yeah, if you can change those. So I have seen, a lot of times I've been in meetings or retreats where somebody's had a migraine and said they were going to have to leave because they just couldn't stay any longer. And I've been able to take them off to the side, and we found the belief, and then the migraine is gone.
So that was exactly the topic I was going to bring up. I have started getting these really bad headaches, and I never had headaches before. When I was a kid, it was not a thing. And just in the last couple of years, I've been getting such bad headaches. It makes me throw up. I can't do anything. I have to lie down. So I'm like, I got to come to Judy, because
please do. Yeah. Because it's terrible.
Thing.
But back to what you were talking about also, there are lots of situations where there's, while you don't like the situation, it provides an excuse to either get to do something you ordinarily wouldn't be able to do, or to not have to do something you don't want to do. And looking at what those might be, particularly around physical symptoms, but I've seen it with other things as well. Of just it helps you. It provides an excuse for not doing those things, or for or doing things like if you wouldn't feel comfortable taking a nap in the afternoon if you felt healthy, but this lets you take a nap every afternoon. You could. You can see how that would be attractive in one aspect, even though the thing might be worse than, you just get attracted.
Get very creative with how to help you find solutions.
Absolutely. It's really, so you change those beliefs, and then the symptom can go away, and, you really feel better.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm working myself too hard, in the sense that, like, I'm not giving myself enough self-care and rest and breaks, and therefore my body's like, okay, we're going to make sure that you have to stop.
Absolutely. And that's usually the type of message it's trying to get across is, it's okay to relax. I can get it all done. I'm important. It's good for me to take care of myself. I mean, all of those types of beliefs might not be in your subconscious, even though consciously that those are all important.
I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, that's something that a lot of us struggle with.
It is. They're getting that balance. And you can see it. I've seen it, like put the brakes on people's businesses, because they have a subconscious belief that in order to be successful, they have to be working around the clock. And so the subconscious will sometimes go, well, we don't want a successful business, because that's the only, it's look at what it's going to do to the rest of your life. Right. And so, I've helped people change the beliefs where you can have a successful business and have a balanced life. You don't have to work 24/7 for the business to be successful. That's just here. It's like, you have to work really hard for money. That's a childhood belief about money, which makes you only get money if you work really hard, right? But then it's like, well, and maybe it's not okay to have more than you need, because you might learn that as well. You don't want to be greedy. You don't want to be like those people that we don't like, whatever it is. Or it's the root of all evil. So your subconscious will protect you from having too much of that. I mean, there's all this stuff that pops up that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a puzzle solver. And so everything that we try to track down with my clients, it's another puzzle.
Yeah. It's so fascinating to see those strings and to see those starts. And I can even think of times where a family member, when I was a kid, said one sentence one time that just became so engraved in me. And then they don't even remember having said it. And they're like, I would never say something like that. Like, it has formed the basis of my entire life.
Yes, that can happen. Yeah. The one toy that you break when they told you not to do the thing, and you don't even deserve new toys, right? I mean, you can do that once as a parent and utter exasperation at the end of a very hectic holiday. And that can be the thing that sticks in the head, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've noticed some interesting patterns with my son, who is almost 7, and he tends to leave the TV on, and our electric bill has been very high. So I told him he's got to turn the TV off when he leaves the room because it's wasting money, it's wasting electricity. And one day he got very, very distressed about the TV was on, but he was too tired to go back downstairs. And I was like, all right, just for now, we'll just leave it. And he was like, no, the electric bill. And I was like, okay, maybe I went a little too far. But
Right.
his thought process was, well, if we're spending more money on the electric bill, that's less money we can spend on toys. So we need a lower electric bill so that you have a better budget for buying toys and video games.
That's so funny. Very logical. Very logical. Yeah.
Sort of true.
Well, yeah, in a way. It might not be exactly what you had in mind what to do with the extra money that you don't pay the electric company, but
So if I wanted to get started with you and I wanted to come to you, please solve my headaches, what would be the step that I would take? Where would I go? What would I do?
you would go to my website, Aligned Consciousness, which I'm assuming is going to be somewhere.
Yes.
And on the bottom of any page on that website, you can book a session. So you go there. It could be a 15-minute free phone conversation to get more information, to see how this works, or it could be to actually book an hour session.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to put that up on the screen real quick.
There we go. Yeah.
It should be in the description as well. And are there any final thoughts that you would like to leave us with?
Yes. If things aren't going the way you would wish them to, don't just fall into this rut where it's never going to get any better. This is just the way life is. This is just the way I am. Know that if it's something that you really want to be different, you can change these things.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great note to end on. Thank you.